President Obama welcoming Saudi Arabian King Salman to the White House today. He's got more leverage with the leader than in years past. Booming U.S. energy production has cut our dependence on the desert kingdom by half in just over a decade. The U.S. is now the world's largest oil producer. We only get 6% of our oil these days from Saudi Arabia now, compared with 12% back in 2003. That is according to the EIA. Well, joining us now exclusively is former ambassador to Saudi Arabia, Robert Jordan. He was appointed the day after 9/11. He is also the author of the memoir, Desert Diplomat. Ambassador, thank you so much for joining us. I'm on the floor of the New York Stock Exchange. If it gets a little loud behind me, traders, investors very excited for the three-day weekend, as I'm sure you've been following the extreme market moves of late and the sharp sell-off today.
You bet.
But we have invited you here to talk about oil and the U.S. relationship with Saudi Arabia. So my first question is simply that, how does the U.S. relationship with Saudi Arabia change now that we're not so dependent on their oil?
Well, the relationship is about a lot more than just oil. It's about fighting terrorism. It's about maintaining alliances in the Middle East, a very rough neighborhood. It's about combating ISIS. It's about dealing with the economy that affects the rest of the world, not just the United States. So even if we become energy independent totally, the Saudis are going to be exporting oil to the rest of the world. If it goes to $200 a barrel, the Europeans, the Asians stop buying Apple products, they stop buying cars, they stop buying TVs. So I think we've got to maintain a traction with that part of the world because it's a vital interest to the United States.
So as we watch the decline of the crude oil barrel, what happens? A lot of analysts have pointed to the $40 level that there might be a chance Saudi Arabia cuts output. What do you think?
I think there's almost no chance the Saudis will cut production. Even if they were to cut 1 or 2 million barrels a day, it may well not have that much of an impact on the worldwide price. The Saudis are producing flat out right now, about over 11 million barrels a day. They've shown no inclination to stop that. If they do stop, they're afraid they'll lose market share to their competitors.
But what about the Iran
deal? This is a big issue for them.
And if that results in additional supply, do you think that will result in additional supply?
Exactly, absolutely. Iran will be dumping a lot more oil on the market. They have a lot in storage right now as well. And so it's going to have a further depressing effect on the price. I think the Saudis are preparing for that and are willing to ride it out.
So Saudi Arabia is another concern, right? Is the U.S. priority of Saudi Arabia's safety also related to the Iran deal? Saudi Arabia have reason to worry.
The Saudis are very worried about their national security. I think there's going to be a lot of talk with President Obama about providing an arms package for the Saudis that will include naval assets, anti-missile defense systems, probably the THAAD system, and other systems that I think will have a large windfall for American arms producers.
Do you think it's telling? Excuse me for interrupting. Again, it's hard to hear. Do you think it's telling that the U.S. has been selling so many new weapons to Saudi Arabia?
I think it is telling. I think the U.S. is probably going to have to guarantee the Saudis some sort of qualitative military superiority over Iran from a conventional standpoint. They're very afraid the Saudis might start developing their own nuclear weapon. The Americans want to provide some sort of security assistance in terms of this new technology, arms and information sharing, intelligence sharing that will reassure them. And I'm not sure quite how far that's going to go.
Also have to ask you about King Salaman's visit with President Obama coming up. He famously kind of blew off the summit at Camp David, right, the Arab summit back in May. Finally going to meet. Do you think that, has the hatchet been buried over that? Also, what do you expect the conversation to entail?
I think there's going to be some lingering tenderness there, but at least King Salman now has the president's undivided attention. He doesn't share the spotlight with the other Gulf monarchs. So I think they will get down to brass tacks. They're going to talk a lot about Yemen, Syria, the situation, of course, with Iran, and the Saudi concerns that they're going to be encircled by Shiite-leaning governments, or at least rebels in their neighborhood. I think Obama is going to probably say to the Saudis that they need to take more responsibility for their own neighborhood. They need to develop a better coalition with the Gulf Cooperation Council, the other monarchs.
And they need to
rely on American security guarantees rather than panicking at this stage.
Very good. Thank you again, Ambassador, for your time. Appreciate it.